Welcome, Miracles Tribe members and members of our Miracles Attraction community on Facebook. I'm Teresa McGallagher, and today joining me is my partner, Carly Hardy, and our special guest from California, Nicole Witt. Carly will tell you a little bit about her.
Nicole, what a treat it is for us to have you with us. You are truly a soul sister. So, Nicole Witt is a Course in Miracles student who lives in the San Fernando Valley section of Los Angeles. She's about to become an empty nester as her son is preparing to move to college in less than 2 months. 8 weeks away, my dear. The empty nest will be there. She also lives with her husband, two dogs, and numerous outside critters. Pre-COVID, she was a facilitator of a Sunday morning A Course in Miracles study group and hopes to get back to in-person study soon. Currently, she is hosting a Facebook group called Everyday Miracles, where herself and others can share about how the Course is bringing about change in perspective in their own lives. So with that brief bio, we'd love to hear more about you and how you found the Course and how it's affected your life. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Carly and Teresa, for inviting me to be here. So I have been studying the Course for like 6.5 years now, I think. And, before the Course, growing up, my family was, I would say, disconnected, I think it's the right word, disconnected kind of from each other and disconnected from any kind of spiritual life from and God, anything like that. And basically, anytime God was mentioned in my family, it was more with a negative aspect. That that's not for us. I remember getting a cross necklace from my great grandmother when I was very young, and basically telling I have to give it away, and that God's not for us, and we don't pay any attention to that. So I kind of grew up with this idea, even judging other people that had a spiritual life, and I didn't realize it until maybe like this past year, that the meaning that I had made of this idea that God's not for us is that, well, then he must be against me, and that that was something that I carried with me always. That even though I wasn't raised to have a relationship with God, I still talked to him growing up, but it was always like, why are you doing this to me? Why am I being punished? Why don't I have the life that I want? What is going on? What did I do that was so bad? And I always had this idea, even very, very young. I remember being about like 4 years old, going like, I just want to go home. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I just want to go home. And so as time went on, I was a very disconnected child, a very disconnected teenager. Never felt like I had really close relationships with anybody. And even though I seemed to like have lots of friends, I always felt like it's because I was in the right place at the right time. They really didn't like me. They really didn't care about me. And as I took that into my young adulthood, I began looking for happiness in all the wrong places, and trying to figure out what it was I was supposed to be doing with my life. Because I figured if I could figure that out, then I'd be happy. And I had always been jealous of people who seemed to know what they wanted to do with their lives. If they wanted to be a doctor or this or that, I never felt any pull in any direction. And I felt like there was something really wrong with me, that I'm just kind of out there dangling in the wind, not knowing where I'm supposed to go. And so my answer to that was like, okay, well, I'm going to find a husband that's going to take care of me so that I will have time to figure this out. Like, I'll have this space and I'll have time to figure out what it is I'm supposed to be doing. That didn't work out too well. So, that led to all kinds of resentments and feeling like now I don't get to do what I want to do. And I realized that that is, one of those little voices inside my head is like, well, what about me? How come I don't get to do what I want to do? Um, and so, eventually I got to the point where I found myself um, really struggling for that there has to be something more. And around the time that my son was born, so like 22 years ago, a little bit of light started to get in the cracks. Like I remember it was the first time I ever had a thought that wasn't negative about God. I was watching the Grammy Awards, and how people get up to accept their awards and they thank God and all of that. And in the past, I'd always be like, oh my God, like, why do they have to do that? I always had a negative reaction to it. But this one time I thought, this is interesting. These people who are at the top of their careers, who are in this field of music, and they're all thanking God. Maybe there's a connection. Maybe there's something to this. And that was the first thought that I ever had. I would say that led me in a spiritual direction. And from there, it just kind of the crack got bigger and bigger and more light could come in. So about 10 years after that, I found myself joining Al-Anon. And so I started to try to develop this relationship with a higher power. And at first I refused to call it God, the universe and this, and I kind of had all this concepts. And eventually I was just like, you know what? It's just easier if I call it God. It doesn't, it doesn't mean anything other than what I think it means. So it's just easier. But I was still really searching for what I'm supposed to do with my life. And if I could just figure that out, then everything would fall into place. And then people would like me. I'd be interesting. People would like me. They'd look up to me. I would be something. And so that's kind of how I found the course, in that Marianne Williamson was coming to LA to do a weekend seminar on the laws of divine compensation. And that really interested me because it was all about finding your purpose. And that's what I was searching for at the time. And I didn't really know anything about the course except, I had seen Marianne on Oprah numerous times. And she kind of mentioned the course when she talked, but she wouldn't really talk about what it was. So it was kind of this mystery to me. So I went to this weekend seminar and I left there. Still, she didn't really talk about the origins of it or anything, but I left there thinking, maybe I should get this Course in Miracles. And, the ego voice inside me was like, no, you've been in Al-Anon for a long time now. You've been working on your fourth step for like a year. You need to finish that first. You can't do two things at once. You have to finish this fourth step and then maybe we'll see. So I put it off for a while. But eventually I decided to go, like, this fourth step wasn't going anywhere. I'm going to get the course. And I remember I ordered it on Amazon and I opened it up January 1st, 2015. And I get it. And I still at this point didn't know the story behind it. And I'm like, well, who wrote this? Like, who is the author? And it just says Foundation for Inner Peace. What is Foundation for Inner Peace? I don't know what this is. And so I finally Googled it. And when I saw what it said, when it was, supposedly it was channeled from Jesus, and I was like, oh my God, like, no, like, I can't do this. Like, there's no way. This is the type of thing that I would have judged somebody so badly for this before. And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to just open it up and start reading. So I started reading the text. And within a few days of reading it, I was like, okay, like I'm going to buy into this, because I don't think I can't conceive of any human mind writing this. And I just knew in my heart that it was the truth. I just felt so connected to it. Like, okay, I had finally found what I had been looking for, even though I still did a lot of searching after that. I still get caught up in searching a lot of times. But I knew that it was the truth, and I knew that it was my spiritual path. Um, and so, yeah, on this journey, it's just been a constant deepening of that. And no matter how many times I read the text or do the lessons, it's just always, it's a gift that keeps on giving, it's always giving me more and a deeper level of understanding and deeper awareness. And yeah, my life now, looking back at it, and sometimes I can't believe, like, I had to look up the date that I actually started reading it. And I was like, wow, it's only been 6 years. Like, it seems like it's been part of my life for much longer than that. Um, and the differences that it's made, I was definitely before the course in a total victim mode all the time. And that it was just all projection of blame. And because I felt like there was something completely missing for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so it was everybody else's fault. I've been married twice. It was both my husband's fault that I couldn't find my happiness because I had to stay in this job that I didn't like to make them money, and they weren't supporting me. And, if only I didn't have to work and I had this time, then I'd figure it out. I what I've come to realize is that, like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm exactly, all of these things that I thought of as failures are really opportunities for me to deepen these relationships with people. I've been at my job now for almost, at the end of this month, it'll be 30 years. And I have, I would say, most of the time not wanted to be there, thought there was something terribly wrong with me for still being there, and have seen that basically as a failure until just a few years ago, and realizing that, it's these people that because most of the people have been there just as long, and so we're like a family. And so I have all these opportunities for all these holy relationships with all of these other people, and realizing that it really has been a gift. And some days are better than others, and some days I'm totally focused on knowing that, and some days I can get caught back up into the oh, this is so boring, I hate this job. But it's it's a constant watching of my mind, and knowing that these thoughts don't mean anything, even though I'm having them, and that I can give them over and know that there's something else. There's a different way to look at it. And it's really been, I would say, I think this all the time, that whenever I'm looking at my before course and after course life, and I probably thought this 6 months in, that, like, oh my gosh, my life is so much better. But every time I think, oh my God, my life is so much better than it was a month ago, and it's just a constant bringing to awareness of what is going on in my mind, and where I'm still playing the victim, and where I'm still living in lack, and how that affects how I feel, and how just allows me to make the decision for myself, and to know that I have a choice and it is my decision. And for example, the other night, I was really in a mood where, I could pick a fight with my husband. I was feeling like, we could do this. I could, and it's like, I sit myself down and say, okay, the only function that I have is, my real function is to give only love, to be only love, to forgive. But I could give myself another function right now. I could want to be right. I could want to, prove how right I am. Like, what is my choice here? And knowing that I will only be happy with my true function. So being able to sit down and make that decision and say, okay, actually the most loving thing for me to do is just go to bed. I'm just going to go to bed, and making that decision and not doing all the things that the ego thoughts were screaming at me that no, I needed to do. And so that was huge for me. And so it's just little things like that every day, all these opportunities to choose love. And when I don't, to realize that that's okay too, because now I get to love myself and forgive myself for doing that. And there wasn't anything wasted. I didn't waste an opportunity to love. You can't waste love. So I get to love myself now. Yeah. And so I think that the course has really helped me to more and more be at the place of giving love as opposed to attacking and being judgmental and blaming and projecting. And it gets more and more and more. And every time that I'm in a place of love and feel that peace, it's like, okay, it's another bridge to get me to want to go back there more and more. And the willingness to do so. So, yeah. And the listening to guidance, just being, and when realizing when I'm not willing to turn that over and say, okay, I'm obviously not willing to follow my guidance right now, but I'm willing to in the future. And it's been amazing to see how that I'm gently guided to all of a sudden now I'm willing to. So yeah, so I think my life is just it's like a brand new life. I think every day, like a new chance every day, and to know that I'm on that path, and I don't need to look for some big career out there. That this is actually what I'm here to do, to work with my mind and to give only love, and that's the work that's been given to me, and that I'm actually doing it. And yeah, so I don't need to search outside of myself anymore. So that's been the greatest gift. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole, for sharing your story with us. We feel so blessed to be able to share it with our community and appreciate your time coming on here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that you reached out.
We will post a link to your Facebook group, if that's all right, above this
Yes.
video for those who are interested in following your stories, and wish you success with your future career as in your job and as a teacher and a learner of A Course in Miracles.